Welcome, Greek U Nation, to episode number 325 of the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Ayalon, CEO of Greek University. I'm a speaker and a two-time author. Our second book is called From Letters to Leaders, Redefining New Member Education and Leveraging Belonging to Eliminate Hazing. So go and pick up that book today on Amazon. We call these episodes the Fraternity Foodie Podcast because there is nothing like great food to bring college students together. Fun fact, I have never had COVID-19 that I know of. I'm very fortunate that way. I know I'm probably asking for trouble here just by saying that, because as soon as you say something like that, now you know I'm going to get sick for 2 weeks, right? But I think we're eventually going to learn that some people are just much less likely to get it. So I can't wait for them to learn more about COVID-19 in future years as we as a society learn to live with it, because I certainly think that it's not going anywhere. That's for sure. So let's talk to our next guest about holistic health. Juan Williams has absorbed holistic health protocols all of his life, from gathering early information as a child of the 60s in the cereal city of Battle Creek, Michigan, to the melting pot of Honolulu, Hawaii. As a journalist at nearly a dozen TV and radio news outlets, Mr. Williams has been exposed to the health practices of a multitude of cultural backgrounds. He's also learned of the health practices of ancient times, as well as modern day Western medicine. What has worked for him is holistic protocols of past generations in his family, and the understanding that your blood and what you eat is critical to your nutritional health. Juan Williams has a life education that includes an associate's degree in mechanical engineering from the University of Hawaii and a bachelor's in interdisciplinary from Arizona State University. In addition, success in the struggle of his personal health crisis, as well as giving advice in the life challenges of others to promote a total understanding of personal self-help health. Welcome to the show, Juan.
Hey, we're here, man. We're ready to go.
All right, we made it. Here we are.
Well, before the broadcast, we were talking about fried chicken. I don't do that
anymore. Listen, we all love fried chicken, but you know what? It's probably not good for you. I mean, truth be told, is there a lot of it in Nashville, Tennessee? You better believe it.
Yeah. I love it. I've been there, and it's good, but
hey. It is good, but it's bad for you, man. There's no question about that.
Stressed chicken. That's stressed chicken. Don't eat it.
There you go.
Well, fast food. We want free range, unstressed chicken if you're going to eat chicken at all. Yeah.
There you go. There you go. So let's talk a little bit about some of your early life. You have a really interesting childhood in that you moved out of your home at age 14, and then you moved in with a healthy foster family. Talk to our audience a little bit about what happened to you as a kid, and then how did you decide that you needed a new home?
Well, I'm talking to a lot of people that understand me because, we live in a society that has a lot of single parent families and a lot of issues of dysfunction. We've had to mature much earlier than necessary, or than the 18-year-old threshold that they have of being an adult. And that's what happened to me. I found that in my family, me, my brother and sister, we got together and we decided it was time to go, because we could not concentrate on our studies. We could not concentrate on our schoolings. We could not concentrate on our lives in general, even as young teenagers. So it was time to move on. Without going into great detail here, and what we understand is that our issues in our families, a lot of times, it's just something we can't deal with, and it's better to move on. So we did. And what the good thing about that is that we had a family already set up, in essence, that had lived next door to my parents, to my mother when she was growing up. And so that was the family that we decided to be around. They were very balanced, religious, healthy family that really addressed our issues very wonderfully, and made sure that we had the love and concern and care as we went through our high school years. One of the sad parts is I'm the only one that stayed. Within a couple of years, my sister and my brother were on their way and doing their own thing. But I stayed for the rest of my high school years, and I learned a lot of their holistic lifestyle. They were in like back then Shackley, Herbalife. They had a 2-acre farm or garden, and they just did all the natural things. You know, it was farm to table with the food. It was just direct, plant-based eating, and it was just spectacular what I really experienced, and the effort to really make my life as settled and balanced so I could move forward more readily and properly as a child, because I was still, of course, a child in my mind. It took, a bit of, psychological development with that family for me to get over a lot of the trauma that I had had before that.
Wow. What an interesting childhood. And you're very fortunate to have that family next door that was able to take you in and give you that foundation that you needed in order to grow into a balanced, healthy adult like you are today. So, very fortunate to have that and that they took you in. I think that's fantastic. Talk to us a little bit about the history of Battle Creek, Michigan. How does it have this unique health initiative history?
Well, let's talk about Kellogg's. I mean, years ago, back in the 60s, it was the best UH morning from Battle Creek, as we remember. And see, I was a radio news journalist when I got out of high school. So I was on the radio, reading news and talking about Cereal City weather and all these other things. But the history of Battle Creek is unique in that 100 years ago, John Harvey Kellogg and his brother, William K. Kellogg, they both decided that we needed like a big sanitarium, a place where we could have people understand and appreciate how to get back to their natural selves. So they created this Battle Creek Sanatorium where people from around the world actually came, celebrities, leaders, people like Winston Churchill, individuals like our, presidents from back then, and all of the celebrities, Rudy Valley, all of them came to this place. And they settled down and they spent weeks and weeks at these sanitarium places. And they had as many as 1,300 guests. There was 30 buildings that housed all of these individuals trying to understand their health better and getting back to a more holistic lifestyle. So, that was my childhood energies. We spent, me and my brother and sister, time on the old John Harvey Kellogg grounds where he had his estate, which was only like blocks from where we grew up and lived. So we were around in that area. We saw the outline of his homes, the guest home areas where he, had it like around his estate, a horse track. It was kind of unique in just understanding that even as a child, but I didn't understand his history until I actually grew up.
Wow, fascinating. See, I learned something new today, all about Battle Creek, Michigan. I love that. Now, interestingly enough, I mean, you went to school at the University of Hawaii. You got your degree there in mechanical engineering, and then you got your bachelor's degree at Arizona State. These two campuses have to be, in my opinion, the most beautiful campuses in the entire country. So I'm wondering what made you choose these two particular institutions?
Well, initially, of course, it was University of Hawaii because my grandparents in the late 60s moved to Hawaii from Battle Creek, Michigan. They retired from the Kellogg's company. They both worked at the Kellogg's company, and they retired and went out to Hawaii. They had decided on Hawaii because they really liked the cleanliness of the islands, as well as the wonderful natural environment that there. Because Hawaii has this wonderful natural magnetic energy. The earth there is still very young compared to the earth everywhere else, because it's just actual volcanic plumes that have deteriorated down to flat land. And that's really what Hawaii is. But you're getting original earth in those areas of the world. So they decided that that was a very nice place to be, and that's where they were by 1969. So in the late 70s, I ended up there, spent a couple of years. That's where I got into a little bit of TV reporting and back into radio, and was connected to a lot of wonderful people. But the college life was not until the 90s, where I, was away for a while from Hawaii, then went back. And I went back to school and got into mechanical engineering. I became licensed as an engineer. And, the stress of that life really started creating this issue of not feeling comfortable. So I had to get out in nature and get into the ocean, start eating better, start doing the things that were necessary to make myself more comfortable. And that issue really was not being outside, rather inside doing work and schoolwork. So that's really the understanding, is that, those beautiful places can be beautiful, but you need to embrace it. You can't just allow it to be there and look at it. You have to be around it and in it. So here in the Phoenix area, there in Hawaii, yes, you have to get outside, hug some trees, walk barefoot, jump in the ocean, dig a hole and stand in it with the dirt all around you. Do those things, because we are, in essence, plants ourselves in the way we were created. In our genes, there's only one difference between us and plants. I learned at Arizona State in the plant biology. It's really the way our DNA is actually encompassed, as opposed to plants who doesn't have an encompassing layer on their DNA. So there's only one little difference, but we feed off of each other. When you hug a tree, that tree is taking in your air and we're taking in their oxygen. So, we love each other and we need to love each other. So we need to eat of each other, breathe of each other, and be a part of each other with our lives.
Wow, that's fascinating, really, discussion. I love it. And you know what? Sometimes you're right. Sometimes we just have to stop and appreciate what's going on around us. Take your shoes off and walk around barefoot for a little while. And you start to appreciate nature a little bit more than ordinarily you might. Really fascinating stuff. Now, you also had a celebrity encounter with Bruno Mars, of all people. What happened there?
Well, ironically enough, it was around Christmas in the early 90s. And me and some friends were walking in Waikiki, and we heard this little kid singing Christmas song. And we were like, where's that coming from? So we're walking around looking for this voice. And in the midst of the middle of Waikiki, this little kid with his family was singing, these Merry Christmas songs. So we were like, okay, let's stand here and watch for a while. But what I didn't know is that 2 years later, I'm part of that group and that family. Because 2 years later, I'm at one of the venues where they were performing in one of these Waikiki shows. They had a Waikiki show that was a 70s review. And his mother had a group called the Love Notes. And, they were doing their 70s thing, but he was listed as Little Elvis. And what we remember about his history, he ended up in some movies and things as Little Elvis. But just the idea that I was actually talking to Bruno Mars as a little kid, kind of interviewing him, asking him questions. He's telling me that he's convinced that he's going to be R. And that was at like 6 years old. And now the fact that he is, in Vegas doing his shows now, very popular. And later on in life, getting to know his parents, me and his mom. She called me at some point and wanted me to come down to join for his first hit. I believe it was the one he did with B.O.B. Nothing on You or something like that was the name of the song. But the thing was, I never got down to the bar where they were just hanging out. So I missed my chance to be part of that entourage and just to get in and fit in, right? Because right now, he probably calling me saying, Juan, come on to Vegas, man, so we can hang out and have some fun. Let's do some things. Let's sing, because I was a singer back then. I was trying to get into the performance and bands and things. So that was my life back then. But that was my encounter with Bruno Mars and his family.
Very cool. What an opportunity you had there to meet him and hang out with him. Man, oh man, you could have been part of his entourage. Your whole life would have been different,
It would have been different.
Now, you've had some challenging health history events of your own. You battled COVID-19, you battled pancreatic cancer, and you were successful in battling both of those. How did you get through those times of your life?
Well, we need to talk about COVID first, because you did mention it,
Sure.
at the beginning here, and I had it last year. It's a serious issue, and now it's creeping up again because it may have, mutated into something different. So we just need to be aware more of the fact that it's not COVID. COVID is not our issue. It's us. We need to be healthy individuals, have a strong immune system, because as you were saying, some people never get sick, and they don't have to get sick. It really is about a lot of our personal habits. My book Why Your Lifestyle is Killing You. It's out on Amazon. And see, the thing is, I tell that story in this book. And I tell how you need to focus on plant-based eating, and you need to make sure that you have a lifestyle that is very healthy in order to fight things like a pandemic, like COVID-19. You really are not surviving if you have that carefree life. See, our freedom in America has really come back to haunt us in that sense, because we feel like we can eat anything, we can do anything, we have all that freedom. Yes, freedom is good, but there has to be discipline with it. And what we've learned about discipline is that when you don't follow a certain regimen of really treating yourself well, then you have health problems. If you're just eating anything out of the store, you're ending up with health problems. We have to look at our labels. We should not be eating enriched foods any longer, because they're foods that have all kinds of chemicals in it that just make the food look good on the shelf. But even though it might taste good, it's not good for you. So it's those things that are actually going inside of us and callousing the inner body. And it's making it so that we can't build a proper immune system so that we can maintain a certain quality of health, especially as we age. Because as we get older, there's people that are dying in their 30s and 40s now of heart attacks and cancer and things that really shouldn't be happening. But it's because our lifestyle is not one that's disciplined enough to keep building that immune system. There's a lot of science to that. I'm not going to get into that, but what we need to know is that our food should be mostly vegetarian, and it should come from the earth. And that way we can build up the immunity system we need in order to fight and make sure we never get sick.
Mm. Great advice. And I know my daughter definitely agrees with you. She's 16 years old and she's been a vegetarian for, I think, like 6 years now. So she has no plans on going back, and she's trying to convert everybody. She believes in what you believe as well.
It's
And so,
a good thing, yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's the young folks, it's the younger generation that are realizing that, hey, we can make some changes and we can live healthier lifestyles. So really interesting stuff. Now, you've been exposed to the health practices of all kinds of cultural backgrounds in your life. Talk to us a little bit about, where does this fascination come from in terms of nutritional health?
Well, as I said before, when I moved into that family's home at 14,
Mhm.
they had this protocol, this discipline of eating healthy, and the farm to table, because they had the garden with all of these wonderful fruits and vegetables, anything from watermelon to chickpeas and different kind of beans and bell peppers and you name it, cucumbers. Everything that was good for you came out of that garden. And I would go out and they'd have me go and pick and fill a basket full, and I'd bring it in and they'd prepare a meal and I'd help them prepare the meal. So I was being taught. And the fact that they had a water well that they drank from, the fact that instead of taking a shower, they were immersed in water, because that's really our original beginning. We spent 9 months in our mother's belly in a bath. So how is it we can't understand that for ourselves? We have to get into an environment that is us. See, we're 70% water. So how is it we don't get back into that environment at least once a week in order to detox and renew ourselves? Because that kind of stuff is really, really important.
Hmm. Yeah, I never thought about it that way, but you're absolutely right. I mean, maybe I should be taking a bath once a week. We just think about, and it's the same thing is true for health and food. It's like we do what is convenient and what is fast. So that could be taking a shower, or that could be eating processed foods, or going to, a fast food restaurant in order to get food, but that might not be in the best interest of our health, right?
It's,
Um, that's
yeah,
it.
that,
I mean, that's it
yeah,
right there.
yeah, that is our issue, is that we should stop eating fast food. I'm not here to put a damper on, our capitalist society and the way they do things. I'm here just to let you know my story.
Yeah.
It's all about what happened to me, and the fact that I had the stomach cancer. That in itself was a challenge, because a lot of people don't survive that. And you're seeing these days, most of them don't. You're seeing these celebrities that are shrinking down to nothing and ending up in hospices, and then they're gone. We just recently lost some celebrities due to some stomach ailments and issues. So we need to understand it's what we're eating. It's our lifestyle. It's how we're living. It's the fact that we're not focused enough on this, and especially men. Let me talk to you young men. Back when I was 18, me and a friend of mine, he's a retired Dallas sheriff. We were concerned about aging even at 18 to 22. So we were around trying to find things that were, for later on in life. That was the unique thing about us, is that we were concerned about our later life and our young life. But that's how our young people need to think. Don't think about the now all the time. You need to start thinking 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years into your future. Where are you going to be? What are you going to be doing? And at some point, I forgot about that and I ended up sick. So let's never forget that through our generations and through our decades and through having children and having families and teaching correctly, the fact that we need to be able to put a legacy of good health within our lives and make sure that we're doing the right thing for us personally and individually. We need to learn about ourselves, our bloodlines. Where did we come from? How did our people eat? And we need to make sure we're eating some of the same things, because the only reason we're here is because of them.
Good points. It's really fascinating to me because you wrote this book, Why Your Lifestyle is Killing You. Hopefully everyone's going to go out and pick that up on Amazon today. Is your goal with this book just to make sure that people live long lives and they don't get cut short because of, all these things that you're talking about, heart attacks and other things? Is that the goal of the book, to keep people alive longer?
Yes, because partly it's because I've seen it. When I was working as an engineer, I witnessed people having heart attacks. This one man, I was in Vegas working on the Caesar's Palace back in the 90s, and he's running up steps and whatnot, and then he started having a problem. Before we know it, he had a heart attack. Before we know it, he was gone. And this guy was not an older man. He was just trying to get a little exercise going up the steps instead of going up the man lift or the elevator. So our issue is, what happened that would happen to such a young man. So, our focus truly needs to be our health, because of what's happening in our environment now. It's a worldwide issue. COVID is a worldwide issue. We lost millions of people just 2 years ago. So how is it we're not paying attention? The fact that we're starting to say things like, we want to get back to our old, no, we don't. We want to get back to a new self. And that new self is a healthy self, a self that needs to be focused on how we eat and what we put in this stomach. Because I found out that the stomach is your first brain. Anatomically, if you look at the brain when it's exposed and the stomach when it's exposed, they look very similar. So in essence, you have to know that once you put something in the mouth and it goes directly into the stomach, it's actually affecting this. So this is the second brain, because it goes in here first. So this is what we got to focus on. And I kind of don't like the designation they give the stomach as the gut, because it gives it kind of a negative, maybe a more of a secondary designation. That is your first brain. So you need to respect it and have more respect of what you're eating and what you're putting in it.
It's interesting as we talk. I mean, you're like a unicorn of sorts in that, from 18 to 22, you were thinking about your whole life. You weren't thinking about today. You were thinking about, your whole life. How can I eat healthy so that way I can be a healthy 60, 70, 80-year-old when you were only 18 at the time? Like, I don't see that happening very often. I mean, most of the 18-year-olds that I'm working with on college campuses, they're thinking about today. That's it. That is it. It ends with today. What am I doing today? What am I doing tonight? And tomorrow and next week, that's like a year from now. So, and the other thing is that, I mean, that's just the truth. I'm just telling you the truth, right? And so the other issue is that the college students, they don't have a lot of time. Their schedule is just really busy. They have all kinds of, they're overcommitted in terms of school, their jobs, relationships, student organizations like fraternities and sororities. And they're also broke. I mean, they don't have a lot of time or money to prepare fancy meals at home, to go shopping, get all those vegetables and cook them all up and all. I mean, that there's time involved and there's money involved. And you and I both know that we can go to a local McDonald's and we can get a hamburger for 99 cents, right? So what is your advice to them since their time and their budget is limited?
Well, and here's the thing, I just put up on my TikTok, you can go to my Juan Wisdom at TikTok, WANWIZDOM, Juan Wisdom at TikTok, a vegetarian pizza wrap recipe. And it starts out with a tortilla that's made out of cauliflower. And then you put vegetarian pepperoni in it. You put some bell pepper slices, put some vegetarian, sour cream. They have all these things that are vegetarian and they're made out of natural plant life. So, and it is available in the stores, but you have to read the label to make sure that it is. Or you can make your own. But the thing is, we want to make sure, because those recipes are available online, and I'm going to make them available on my website at www.juanwisdom.com coming up here over the next couple of weeks, so that we can know how to eat healthy in a pinch, when it's fast, when we need something quick, that's only going to take you like maybe 2 minutes. And then you wrap it up, you throw it in a pan with some olive oil and you're good to go. And you're on the run. And we can do it ourselves instead of deciding to go to a fast food place and do this ourselves, or we can just carry it with us and eat it on the run. It's those kind of things we need to kind of focus on now. We know it's kind of difficult to be different from the crowd because they kind of force us to go with that bandwagon effect where we're all in the same group. But we need to start being more independent of ourselves so that we can stay healthy, because we're losing people too young. Yeah. We're not doing what's necessary in order to keep our health. And as I said, it's individual. So individual, then if we have to set ourselves outside of that group that we're in, and they're trying to convince us it's okay, it's not okay. What's okay is when you start doing it the right way. So what I'm trying to stress is my message and my story and the fact that I almost died. We haven't gotten to necessarily my pancreatic cancer issue, but that was an issue that really, I for 30 days, I was so sick, I really thought the next day I was gone. And that was October of 2017. So I thought it was the end of my life. But see, over the years, I had forgotten myself. I had been living such a carefree life and eating whatever. And during the holidays, just overloading and eating all. I had this sugar fixation, and I thought everything was fine. No, it wasn't. I was just building. See, you can slowly build on an unhealthy state. That's the problem, is that you can slowly build on that till all of a sudden, the well runs dry and your health is no longer really good for you, and then you're dying. So we want to make sure that we are starting to build our immune system instead of an unhealthy state.
Very nicely said. I'm going to go and follow you on TikTok and give you a few likes on all of that stuff, because yeah, we just need some good recipes, some good instruction on how we can just use healthier alternatives. Just like you said, cauliflower is a great substitute. I've even seen like some of these restaurants serve pizzas and things like that using a cauliflower crust, which is just a real interesting way for us to eat a little bit healthier. So maybe if we can get more restaurants and more supermarkets to carry those substitutes, then I think we're onto something. Then I think we can do something that'll really make a difference for all of these people. Now, is there anything that the college students who are listening today to this interview, is there anything they should avoid at all costs? Is that like sugar, for example? I mean, what should they avoid?
Well, here's my mantra. And I do this because of my past and the fact I had this sugar fixation. Mm-hmm. It's no breads, no meats, no sweets. So, last night I had a chicken salad kind of thing, but it didn't have any mayonnaise or anything in it. It basically was lettuce and carrots and a few chunks of chicken and avocado and a lot of different vegetables. But that's how I eat now. And I don't take like a little half loaf of bread and eat that with it anymore, because, breads turn into sugars. Mm-hmm. So, if I'm going to eat any bread, it is a keto type of bread that's made of grains that have no real brewer's yeast. It's kind of a flat bread. So, and that's only on occasion. So it's mostly no breads, no meats, and no sweets, especially. Because when I was going through my issue 5 years ago, I had a tapeworm come out of me because I was taking all of these anti-parasitic herbs like neem, mimosa pudica, even ginger and garlic, all those things process out your parasites. And I had this thing that looked like my intestine come out. I took a picture of it because I wanted to make sure that I could remember where I was at and the fact that I had something inside of me that was really driving what I was doing. I'm sorry, my dog's back there messing around. That's my two English Mastiffs getting into each other's face for a minute, but they like to be a part of what I do because they sit right outside my office window and they're always there when I'm in here. But anyway, we got to remember our bodies are very critical to our later life. So we have to treat it better as we're aging so that when we get to this point, we don't have parasites inside of us. And what I do is every month during the moon phase, I cleanse, I detox, and I make sure I flush those parasites. And the way to do that is to fast on the full moon. And you just drink water, you drink tea, and make sure those parasites come out of you. You starve them out, basically, is really what it amounts to, because they're there. And it comes from just sometimes lack of hygiene or just touching the wrong thing or just eating the wrong thing. Meats have a lot of parasitic content. So we have to be careful what kind of meats we're eating for eating meats at all. I eat mostly fish now. So it's those things we really need to focus on, even as we're young and as we're looking to our future, because as these young kids in their teens and their early 20s get to be 30, 40 years old, they're going to look back and they're going to feel better and they're going to be more clear. Their clarity is going to be there. And that's what really detoxing does. It brings you some tremendous clarity in your life. You can think more clearly about what you're going to do, what is your path, and what path you want to be on. If you don't do that, then you may maintain a confusion that lasts a lifetime.
Wow. Listen, I appreciate you sharing all those words of wisdom with our audience because, as a youngster, if you can develop good habits, then you'll carry that with you the rest of your life. So I really appreciate that. Now, we do love good food here at the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. Now, I imagine you probably prepare a lot of this stuff at home, is my guess, just going to the supermarket. I mean, is there any healthy restaurant that I could visit in Flagstaff, Arizona?
Well, I'm actually in the Phoenix area,
Okay.
west side in Glendale.
Uh-huh.
We go up to Flagstaff, we go up to Sedona, especially.
Okay.
And in Sedona, there's a place called Picasso's Healthy Restaurant. And it's an Italian place, Picasso's Healthy Italian. And this place is vegetarian with pretty much everything they have. So some of their selections, like they have a delicious tortilla soup. Their pizzas are made out of natural plant-based products like cauliflower. They have their dish is just wonderful. They're healthy salads, Mediterranean style. That's really the type of places you want to eat if you're going to eat out. Find a vegetarian style, a Mediterranean style place, because the world actually eats better than America. The world is more plant-based than us here. We've just adopted this style of eating fast food and processed foods because we started thinking our foods have to look good in order to taste good. But no, they need to be nutritious for us. And years ago, when I was eating my Twinkie, when I was a kid, it had only lasted like 7 days on the shelf. But now that thing lasts like 45 days.
That's right.
You don't want to eat nothing like that. Hostess, ho-hos, all those things, they last like 6 months. No, you don't want to eat something that has a date on it that says it does expire until, right now it's December. In June, no. Well, why are you eating that? Because it'll still be inside of you in June, right? You want to get rid of that thing within a day or two, right? It's, your body's supposed to process food out within 24 hours. And if you're eating right, that's what's happening. And you're building a wonderful immune system. So let's eat healthy. And when we go out, let's find a healthy place to eat.
That's right. Great message. I'm going to go and check out that restaurant out in the Sedona area. My mom actually lives out that way, so I'm going to make some reservations and I'll let you know what that tortilla soup is all about. That sounds
Yeah,
like fun.
it's delicious.
All
Yeah.
right. So if our listeners, if they want to go and buy your book or they want you to maybe speak on their campus about living a healthier lifestyle and healthy nutrition, how can they connect with you?
Okay. First of all, the book itself, I just found out I had some formatting problems with the ebook because I first offer as an ebook now. It won't be out as a hardback or a paperback until January. And so I had to make sure that the formatting of the book was proper because I went in and looked at it. So right now, you can't get at the book. I'll have that probably straightened out by the weekend. But as far as my website, that'll be up next week. You know, all these things are new right now because I'm starting a new publishing business behind the book so that I can help people more readily. But they can go to, next week or by the weekend, they'll be able to go to www.wanwizdom.com, which is WANWIZDOM.com. That will be my website. And then they can go on Amazon to get the book itself in its e-Kindle form by the weekend. And then, we can move forward with the contact information. You can contact me at wanwisdom59@gmail.com. And those are the contacts that I will address, and I will address any issues. Anyone that really wants to communicate with me, talk with me, have some conversations about their health, I'm available. So what I'm trying to do is get the message out that even as young people, and when I was young, I was more focused than I was later in my years. I got a little maybe kind of away from my good habits, and that cost me because I almost lost my life because of it. So let's not do that. Let my story be a better story for you so that you don't forget that it's better to maintain a good, balanced, disciplined way of eating so that later on you don't have problems with COVID. You don't even have problems with getting sick anymore. So that's really what we want.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much for your time. It's Juan Williams. The name of the book is called Why Your Lifestyle is Killing You. So make sure you go and check that out on Amazon. Go and pick that up because Juan's got a lot of really good information with you on how to live a healthier lifestyle. So we really appreciate it. Thank you so much for being on the show today, Juan.
Thank you, Michael. Appreciate you for this opportunity.
My pleasure. And to our listeners, if you enjoyed this talk with Juan, make sure that you like it on social media. Make sure that you share it with other college students because they need to hear this as well. And we hope to see you on another episode of the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.